Hello and welcome to another episode of the Gentle Business Space podcast. I'm Fabi. I'm a nervous system friendly business and systems mentor, and I support other sensitive women build an aligned and sustainable heart-centered business with more clarity and calm and structure so that you can really grow your business without burning out. And it's lovely to be back to recording an episode today. It's been a little while. But I think that's also a great reminder that sometimes life just happens and we set out our plans, and usually I record every other week. I share a podcast every other week. But sometimes life happens. I've been away and I've been ill and then just need a little space of reconnection. So sometimes, even though we make plans, we can't always follow them. And I think that's absolutely fine. So just a little reminder that if you're experiencing that, you're not alone. I think it happens to all of us. And sometimes there's just other things that get in the way. And that's okay. And then after a while, we can come back to our routine, settle back in. And that's okay too. So today, I wanted to do a little check-in. We're coming to the mid-year point of the year, and that's usually a good point to just do a little review, check in how we're doing, how our business is doing, and how we're progressing with our goals and how we're moving towards our vision. And to do that, I would love to invite you to just create a comfortable space, to make it really cozy, really nice, so you can really, relax, settle in. Nervous system can settle a little bit, and allow yourself a little bit of time. Of course, this is going to be just a brief check-in with a few journaling questions, things to reflect on. But this might be a good starting point for you to then continue your check-in a little bit more in depth afterwards. So you might want to journal on this. Maybe you just want to process it, thinking about it, whatever works for you. Feel free to pause at any time. But so as we're starting, I know usually when we're doing a check-in, it's very easy to start with everything that we haven't achieved yet. Thinking, I should be further, or there's so much still missing. And especially when running a business, there's always more to do, always more coming up. And it can feel really disheartening at times. So I want to turn it around and start with what's been going well so far this year. What have you achieved? What has worked? And how have you supported yourself? And really noticing how far you've come. And I know that can be really challenging. Our brains automatically go into the negatives, trying to figure out what we can improve. But I want to invite you to really sit with it and notice what has actually worked, what's been going well. And sometimes that's not those direct, business successes that we might be thinking of. But maybe we're setting more of the groundwork, more of the softer changes that we've implemented. But they have a big impact usually. So it might be things like maybe you've established a better routine. Maybe you've been going for more walks. I see it doesn't always need to be exactly business related. Sometimes it's something around it, maybe more well-being. So you've been taking better care of yourself. Maybe you've set up systems that will help you long term. Maybe you got clearer on your direction. Even if it's just a tiny little bit, maybe there's one thing that clicked. Maybe you listened more to your needs. Or you've set more boundaries. Or even just the one time that you set clearer boundaries. So it can be these kind of softer changes that might not be measurable, but they're still so important. So really noticing what of these kind of changes have you had. And what's actually really helpful, maybe moving forward, is doing that on a monthly basis. Because a lot of the times we can forget what has actually happened. especially those little things, we can kind of dismiss them really easily. But for now, we look at the whole, the last kind of 5-6 months. And as I said before, we can get easily disheartened when we don't see big results towards our goals. These are usually kind of the measurable stuff. So income, clients, those kind of like more, it's very precise. We can see what has happened. But often the seemingly very small, softer results that we have implemented, but haven't really acknowledged. So exactly what I've been, when talking about those kind of, boundaries or your self-care routine or little systems getting clearer, especially like if we've been feeling disconnected or a bit directionless, then these are actually like the really big changes that are happening. As often these kind of smaller, softer changes that really accumulate towards reaching your bigger outcomes. It's usually not, suddenly one big goal is reached, but there's lots of little steps along the way that will help us reach those bigger outcomes. So I invite you to really reflect on that before moving on with your mid-year check-in. Listing all the things that went well, that you have achieved, small or big. And really acknowledging those and celebrating. I know we often forget to do that and just move on. Next thing coming up in business. Oh, we've done that, let's move on to the next thing. And not really taking time to acknowledge, to celebrate. Maybe there's a little way that a little ritual that you can implement to really help you celebrate. So I invite you to do a little bit of that now after you've kind of listed all those things that went well. And the more you do that as well, the more you list and really look out for the things that went well, the easier it will become. It's really hard at the beginning. If your brain is trained to always look for the kind of negatives, then it's really hard to start listening and noticing what's been going well, what you've done well, what you've done to support yourself and your business. So be gentle with yourself, take your time with that. It will get easier over time, but really try to list quite a few things there, because I'm sure there's quite a lot. And then take time to celebrate. And then from there, we can move on to looking at what hasn't worked well, because that's also a part we need to look at, because we can learn from it. It's not, we want to look at it from a very gentle perspective. It's not about all these are areas I've failed in. These are all lessons that we can learn from and change, but we need to be aware of them in order to change. So what hasn't worked? Maybe it wasn't right for you, or it's a strategy you tried out, but it just didn't work for you. But also well-being wise, what has drained you, what wasn't aligned. And when we notice that, we can make changes. As I said, otherwise we'd kind of just move forward and randomly adjust and make changes, but don't actually know why we're making changes. So if we're really instead we want to understand what's been going on, and when we do understand it, then we can make really aligned changes, because we understand why something hasn't worked. So we look at what hasn't worked and why hasn't it worked, and then we can make changes. So take a little bit of time here to just reflect on what hasn't worked, what hasn't felt right for you, what hasn't brought you any joy, and what could possibly need a little bit of changing. And once we've done that, we can take a gentle look ahead. So we want to reconnect with our vision, with where we're going. So where do you see yourself at the end of the year? What do you want to have achieved? And how do you want to feel about the rest of the year? How are you working and taking care of yourself? Really taking a little bit of time to reconnect to your goals and your vision, because being clear on those will help us plan ahead in an aligned way that's actually working for you. That's working towards your personal goals and vision. And then you can start looking at, what are you currently working towards? Again, connected to your goal and your vision. And are you still on track towards your goal? Or does something need to change? And especially looking at your reflections, the kind of things we've been looking at, especially towards your, how do you want to feel? Has your goal changed? Maybe there's been some changes. Does it still feel aligned with your bigger vision? And what do the next few months look like for you? So now we want to check in a little bit in your capacity, what's actually been going on, will be going on. Are you taking time off? Is your summer really busy? But also, what is your capacity and energy like in the summer and autumn months? Really taking that into consideration before making plans. These are all, all little different questions to reflect on, because they will all define how we make a plan. Because if your energy tends to be really low in summer and autumn, your plans might be different to somebody who, for one, I don't know, maybe you're taking summer off. So again, your plans will be different. Or maybe you have lots of energy in summer, or what you're doing really aligns with the summer months. Maybe there's events you want to run. So really being aware of your own capacity and energy and your plans for these next few months, and then planning accordingly. And then if you look at what has worked and what hasn't worked so far, how can you implement those lessons? How can you do more of what's worked and make changes to what hasn't worked? All in alignment with your goals and how, what you want to achieve by the end of the year. So really kind of just reflecting on this in a very non-judgmental way, just writing down a few things that come to mind. It will all help to make a plan. So all of this is, of course, just a gentle check-in, a little reflection, just a few questions to get you thinking about your plans. From that point, you can then go into more detail. But I hope this has been helpful and maybe a good start to connect again, to reflect, to celebrate, and then to make gentle plans and reconnect to your vision. And don't forget to celebrate how far you've come. I know it's so easy to forget when running a business, and we get caught up in everything we still need to do or haven't achieved yet. But you're probably doing so much better than you think you are. So really take time to celebrate that. I think that's really important. And if you like any more support with your mid-year check-in, with making plans or reconnecting with your vision and goals, I offer one-to-one mentoring where we can explore that together. So if you're interested in that, I invite you to just get in touch for more information, and we can have a chat about it, how I can support you. So I hope today's little mid-year check-in was helpful. Take it as a starting point, and then you can go into more detailed plans after that. But I hope you enjoyed the episode. As always, leave any comments, insights in the comments, or message me with any insights. I always love to hear. And I hope you have a lovely rest of the day whenever you're listening to this. And I will see you again soon in my next episode. Take care.